know we're recording. So, welcome to another episode of Before the Crowd. I normally say what number it is, but I don't actually know what number I'm up to now. So, just insert episode number here. It's fine. So, I'm sat here this week with a really good friend of mine, actually, Ryan Wilson. So, Ryan and I, we studied together at university. We worked in various bands and projects over the years. And both of us have worked and working within music education. So what we're going to be talking about today with Ryan is just a little bit about teaching, how it can impact different musicians, how it impacts the tutors, ourselves, sort of a subject around that. I know Ryan's got a couple of things he wants to discuss, and of course we're going to be talking about music, playing, gigs, maybe some stories that Ryan can bring to the table as well. So welcome Ryan Wilson to the show.
Hi guys, intro music person here. Are you still using that?
I am, yeah. I didn't even say that, yeah. Well, go on, you can.
Yeah, so the intro song for Guy's podcast is actually one of my older projects. So you guys have been hearing me play since he started this podcast, which is always a little interesting bit. So yeah, intro podcast music guy here. Hi.
No, it's cool because that was when I wanted to get sort of, I don't like the term jingle, but that intro theme for the podcast.
Yeah. I
thought about different ones. I was like, maybe I'm going to write one, but then I was like, I don't want to just program it. I actually want a live band, a live recording. Well, not a live recording, an actual band that's gone into the studio.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get that feel. So I'm just watching you take your shoes off.
Oh, I think it's comfortable.
I know, no, it's fair enough.
We knew this would be a good one.
Yeah. I don't even know what's going to happen in this episode.
Well, you got a wooden floor. Like, if I stamp on this floor...
It's going to be quite loud.
You know? It's like I'm wearing...
Fine.
This is going to be fun.
Well, at least we're on water. Not anything
water
stronger.
Works. Water, don't even go there, please. Not whilst we're working.
Yeah.
So yeah, Guy and I have worked in a multitude. I'm bringing out the big words now, boys. We've worked in a multitude of different projects, both together and apart, obviously. We've even been on tour together.
Yeah, that was 2017. I think that was like the first kind of UK tour, which was, I think, I couldn't speak for both of us. It was a big learning, experience. But No, wait, so you just... Because I was a year above you at uni, so you just finished BIM at that point, and I'd finished UCL that summer, and then we went. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
That tour was the first thing I did after I finished uni.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I did. So I pretty much came out of uni, which is about July, and then 2 months later, we were in Liverpool. Or was that a bit later?
No, that was the first gig, I think.
Was that the first gig?
No, actually, no. The start of it, we started because we kind of staggered it. So we had we released a single at the Camden Assembly for Kinky.
Yo, yeah. We should probably mention who the band is as well. Actually, carrying on.
Yeah, so that was Ryan's still playing with them. Actually, I left the band a little while ago when I kind of went away. But that was with Ollie Barton and the Movement. But that was it was 2017. That tour.
2017.
Because I remember doing that tour actually. So when we went, I don't know if I ever told you this. So we did 2 dates in London, and then I went away to Portugal for about 10 days, and then I came back on the Thursday at whatever time it was, like late Thursday afternoon, and then I had one night in London, and then at 5 a.m. the next day we caught the coach up to Liverpool.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I did wonder why you were tired.
I was so angry and just so not angry, cranky from lack of sleep. And I was like, I can't show them this. I was like, this is the first proper day. It's like, I've got to pretend to be human for the next few hours.
I just remember because I think the bus to go there, we had to get the bus from Victoria. I think that was about 7. No, it was like
it was an early one.
That time. And I remember, because we were all saying to each other the night before, remember to get some good night's sleep tonight, because otherwise you'll be tired. And I remember every single one of us showed up there. I think there were 50% of us with a coffee in our hands.
Well, we were actually on time.
We were on time.
Because I think it was so the other guitar player in the band. I think like there was something the times got confused, or he was running late, or there was something, wasn't there?
I think it was a train issue.
Yeah.
I recall it being a train issue because it was Transport TFL. We won't sing the songs about TFL. If you've ever heard of those ones, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was a public transport kind of thing. So I remember I got the first overground train.
Like first thing in the morning.
Yeah,
it was really early.
first train.
I think you're right. I don't think we went any later than 7 o'clock. But obviously that was like 2 years ago now, and so you've been, I say, like since coming out of university, an active player in that regard.
Yeah.
But you've since moved from being just a player, well, you know, solely a performer.
Yep.
To actually moving into the realm of teaching.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you find that initial transition of changing the skill set or adapting your skill set?
So a lot of what I felt that I had to do to make that work, because obviously for those that have seen me play live, they know that I'm a very, shall we say, hyperactive person on stage.
Yeah.
Somewhat on the jump cables, I think is what I was described as being once. And but before I go, a bit of a tangent, I know, but it sort of explains my philosophy behind everything I do to do with music. So before I was a musician, I was an actor. And when I did that, I was specifically told on a regular basis, every time we were looking into a new performance to do or anything like that, you have to entertain.
Yeah.
I knew that every single person that saw me on stage that night would walk away saying, man.
So you make yourself memorable.
Absolutely.
You keep yourself in people's minds.
And I find that if I put that same mentality to teaching, I find that my students not only retain that information better, but also find it easy to teach that information to other people.
So how have you found them? Because, like, I know we've kind of discussed this before, that you've never had formal, like, teacher training or educational training when it comes to teaching the guitar. Have you found it's more, like, observing other teachers or observing different YouTubers, or just trying it for yourself and seeing what works?
Absolutely. So most of the time when I was getting my skills together as a teacher was I would go through old material that I had learnt when I was younger, and I would look at that and I would go, okay, so what is it about this that made it easy for me to grasp, or how did I actually get this together? What was it I saw in this to make sense of that? And it's that sort of, I found that it was that sort of deconstructive thinking or critical thinking of how I learned that material.
Right.
Or, you know, how I've seen other people learn that material. And then from there, it was building experience from actually teaching students and seeing what pitfalls they go into.
So you identify, like, if you're teaching, like you said, string bending, and you find, okay, well, everybody initially goes to do this and they don't get this particular technique. Then you think, okay, so how can I counter that?
Yeah.
To make it that they don't have that pitfall, and instead they just surpass it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. So and then from there you just sort of build up, I guess it's like a mental textbook.
Yeah, it's a spiel, a script that you can roll off.
It's like a trick bag. You know what I mean? So if I have like my script to introduce this technique to someone, and then from there I have 3 or 4 different scripts to go down. Going back to the whole entertainment thing, I also have a different joke for everyone.
I bet you do.
I do. Seriously, I do. Like even with chords. When I'm teaching open chords, for any of the musicians out there, or guitar players out there, the first chord you typically learn on the guitar is an E chord.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
it's pretty standard.
Pretty standard.
That's an easy one.
Typically, way I explain it is I'll say to people, okay, well, this is the most rock and roll chord in the world, because it's the exact same hand position when you put that on the guitar.
So you're doing the devil horn thing now.
Doing that devil horn.
So you just demonstrate the devil horns.
Yeah.
And then you literally take that
Absolutely.
what do you call it, that
hand shape, I
that
guess.
hand shape,
Yeah,
and just put it on the guitar.
Yeah.
I just like think of it. I'm thinking so much of a School of Rock now. It's like cello, you got a bass, and like turn it on the side.
Yeah. I mean,
Do you get compared to that?
a few of my students do call me Jack.
Jack Black.
They do call me Jack because they'll come in and they'll go, "Whoa, what's up, guys?" You know what I mean? So I sort of immediately go into this high energy, high impact kind of teaching style.
Have you seen, just because I know we were going to tangent on this a lot, have you seen they're doing obviously School of Rock, you have the movie back in however many years ago that was.
Yes.
You've got the West End show, obviously.
Yeah.
Shout out to James Trina as well for that, well done. And also, there's an American TV series
No way.
now for School of Rock.
Really?
Yeah, but it's really like high school, like you've got the lockers. It's all about like there's different gangs and like the jocks and the nerds and these like really stereotypical sort of groups in America.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just looks so bizarre to see these actors doing that. You know?
But so I the way I'm kind of picturing that in my head, and we are going on this tangent. We're already too deep.
Nah, it's all cool. It's
we're
fine.
already too deep. I'm kind of imagining. Have you ever seen like the Glee Club show? I think it was just called Glee.
yeah. Okay, I've seen Glee, and they do the musical numbers. They do a cover, but they make it their own.
Yeah. That's exactly how I'm imagining it. It's exactly how I'm imagining.
I don't think you're going to be wrong about that.
Really?
I haven't seen it, but I think it would be the same. But it might be great. I mean, people love Glee.
I'm kind of curious.
Glee was such a smash hit, wasn't it?
It was a huge hit. It was as a friend of mine used to say, it's what a High School Musical wish it was.
I never got into High School Musical. It wasn't my thing. Was it Zac Efron?
Yeah, Zac Efron, and that's all I remember.
I think I saw the first one. I seem to remember a pool party and a big. I don't know. People out there probably like tearing their hair out listening to this. But I don't know.
I just remember the basketball dance. And I know that's gonna annoy people out listening.
Yeah, I don't know what.
I know that's gonna annoy people. There was just basically like there was this entire song, and all I remember from it there's this guy with a huge afro, and he's wearing like the proper
the jersey and
the jersey and all that kind of stuff. And if I recall, the song starts in the middle of a basketball game.
Of course, right.
Because of course it does. And halfway through, the dance kind of erupts. It happens to like I guess it's like a playground, but there's tables everywhere. I'm not. I guess it's courtyard. Let's go with courtyard. Courtyard sounds close. And it kind of ends with the entire school losing their minds on top of these tables, and they're swinging each other around, but it's all about like staying focused on the basketball game. It's very strange.
I think that's what School of Rock will be. I think you're right. I think that's what it's going to be. That's that Glee High School Musical kind of style.
I'm morbidly curious.
I actually remember talking, like, kind of segueing back into teaching now.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the reference was exactly, but I remember teaching a kid, and he was only about 10 years old, and I was like, oh, it's like that scene in the movie School of Rock, because they were all like, oh yeah, School of Rock, School of Rock.
You can make it feel really old.
But he was like, what's School of Rock? He was like, that's the show, and I was like, yeah, but it was a movie, and he was like, what? And like, he'd never heard of it, he'd never seen it, and like I googled it, and I think it was about 10 years old. I was like, oh my god, like
2003 that movie came out.
Yeah, like this kid wasn't even born.
Yeah.
When School of Rock, and I was like, oh my god, it's so strange.
But
I've been a tenacious, probably around the time School of Rock came out, so 2003. Because of School of Rock, actually my brother introduced me to Tenacious D, and I remember we tricked our mum into buying the album because we didn't. I don't know why we couldn't buy it or something, or
because it's an 18 plus.
Yeah, I guess. But we said to her, we were like, oh, she was like, what's this? And it's the first album cover, and it's like a winged demon.
Yeah.
And then there's Jack and Kyle with the acoustic guitars, and they're naked on it. She was like, what's this? We were like, oh, like, you're going to really like this, it's fine. And then just the obscene language on it. She was like, what have you made me buy? And that was my, like, that was the kind of trick we did to get that album.
Yeah. Yeah. Similar thing happened to me.
With Tenacious D or a different album?
Yeah, same album, because my brother was 10 years older than me.
Yeah, okay.
So, I can't even remember when that album came out now, but...
It's like 2001, I think.
Something
it was
like
around that time.
Something like that. And my brother was always really into... Well, he was into a lot of different types of music. So he used to play it loud. So, you could hear his music throughout the entire house, you know. Some days it'd be Limp Bizkit, other days Justin Timberlake, Daniel Bedingfield, Seal,
Big mix.
Joss Stone, like just
a
real mix. Even Level 42. He used to love Level 42. So he comes home with this album, and I can't for the life of me remember the tracks on it. He comes home with the album. If I remember, the movie came out the same year. So he came home with the album, and he came home with the movie. And I think I was only around. It must have been around late 90s, early 2000s.
It was definitely early 2000s.
Around that sort of time.
I think it was like around 2001, 2003.
Right.
So we would have been like. What, about 9 years
years
old? Something like that, yeah. And I didn't even understand the album.
No,
like,
I didn't either.
I didn't know what it meant.
I didn't either.
I didn't kill bats and sausage and all that. I was like, is that like a Savoy?
Yeah,
like,
I had no idea, as neither did you. So, but I just knew that I liked it because there was a lot of different tempos in that album, if you recall, and they were changing constantly. Right?
There's some really cool guitar licks in that, and I think Kyle Gass is. And I know kind of part of a joke of the band is that Jack like overshadows him, but he's a really great guitar player.
Yeah,
he's a really good player. And you remember like a few years after when The Pick of Destiny came out? I had so many mixed reviews, but I really liked it.
It was a great movie.
I watched that a lot, that movie.
I think I wore out my DVD.
Yeah.
Like it, because it was just so funny to me.
I wouldn't even think now about if a new movie comes out. I would not think, when's it going to be released on DVD? I never go down that route anymore. You watch it in the cinema, and then when it comes onto, iTunes, I would just download it on my laptop if I really wanted it. Absolutely. Or you wait till it's on Netflix or something. I wouldn't go and buy a DVD now.
Absolutely. I've got a little thing about this though, and this. Oh my god, tangents into tangents.
I knew this wouldn't be a 20-minute podcast. It takes a long time for people to commute. They can listen to all of it.
Yeah, this is fine. But here's the thing, right? And this is something I've been discussing with a few nerd friends of mine. Once the streaming service is shut down, what will happen to your products?
In terms of like how would you get them, or who owns it?
So you've bought. This is just an example for just throw one out there. You've bought a virtual copy of Avengers Endgame.
Okay. Yeah.
And next year, Amazon goes into liquidation. This won't happen. Don't worry, Amazon is probably one of the most powerful companies in the world right now. But if it does, and they cease to be a company,
what comes next?
What happens
what
to
replaces
your
it?
What happens to your product?
It's interesting, but it's kind of the same with YouTube as well. Obviously, if YouTube is a people stream stuff, they premiere stuff on YouTube. And even like with teaching and stuff, going back to teaching, because if you post a video on YouTube and that's how you get students, or that's how you reach people on the other side of the world, and then you can obviously fund yourself through Patreon or whatever. Yeah. What will come after that?
What happens? What happens?
But then I was reading, I'm not sure if this is right, because I thought this happened a few years ago. I remember Jack White saying about it in an interview, but Rolling Stone put an article out this week saying that vinyl is just about to overtake CDs in sales now. Yeah. And I was like, that happened ages ago.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why Rolling Stone is suddenly reporting that. I think that happened like 2012.
Yeah.
Because I know that because that was 2012.
Yeah.
When Jack White put Blunderbuss out, his first album, and I'm sure that was the year that the sale of vinyls overtook CDs.
Yeah.
Or maybe it dipped again and now CDs went over and now vinyls are going over. I'm not sure.
I mean, these figures are always fluctuating anyway, but that is definitely a thing. That vinyl is now more prolific. Prolific. We're going peripheral. South Park's a great program, by the way. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. It is a great program, but you know what I mean.
Stop.
I'm digging. Yeah, it fluctuates constantly. But even then, we look at the streaming services, like sort of sharing this marketplace. And I believe I read somewhere, I'm sure your listeners will probably sort me out if I'm wrong, but I believe I read somewhere that this year is the first year that Spotify has broken even. Not made profit,
That's
broken even. How insane is that?
Well, you would just assume they were always in profit.
Yeah, you would, because they're everywhere.
And because it's quite notorious that the artists get paid 0.005 or whatever it is of the actual songs.
Yeah.
And then so many artists resisted going on it for so long.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years ago when the Beatles went on Spotify for the first time. And everyone was like, oh my god, the Beatles are now on Spotify. This is like the new...
Yeah. The new big thing to have on Spotify.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Well, the same thing happened with Tool recently.
Oh yeah, like obviously the new Tool album.
Yeah.
What do you think of it? Well, I've only heard the single. I don't know. Is the whole album out yet?
The whole album is out now.
I haven't heard the whole album. I've only heard the single.
It's good. It's a good album.
Yeah.
It's a good album. But the thing, I think what happened was with this album, and I think this happens quite a lot with quite a lot of media, is that people hype and hype and hype and hype and hype. And it can never meet their expectation.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So what I've actually been telling to people that haven't listened to it yet is don't listen to it. Not yet.
Like get over the initial hype and then give it a chance.
Wait until everyone don't even look at opinions, no reviews, don't look at memes.
It's the thing,
stay off of Reddit.
Everyone's a critic on the internet.
Yeah.
And they don't like I was reading somebody on, I don't know if it was like Loudwire or some sort of music online website, and someone was absolutely trashing Kiss because it's Kiss's farewell tour, but they said 18 years ago they were going to do a farewell tour, and now they're doing another one. But they were saying because there's, you know how you can go watch. I think Ronnie James Dio was doing it, and you go and watch a hologrammed image.
Right.
So like some of the band are still alive or they get new
Right.
players, so it's real players, but it's doing it to a backing track of Dio's vocals. I mean, it's
Right.
a hologram of Ronnie James Dio on stage.
Yeah.
And they're saying this is what Kiss are going to do next. And so Kiss will never die because they're apparently once, like, the Kiss we know, mortally they die. There's going to be the Brazilian Kiss band, the Argentinian Kiss band, and all these different countries will have their own national Kiss band. And then you're going to get, the hologram Kiss band and all this stuff. And because it's the makeup, it's so iconic looking. Like, okay, if you have, say, like Mick Jagger only looks like Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
But even the members of Kiss, so, like they've gone through, I think, to my knowledge, at least 3 drummers. So you had Peter Criss, Eric Carr, and Eric Singer. And all of them, I think, actually once Eric Carr was like a fox for a while, but the majority of the time he's always been the cat man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's an iconic image that will last and stand the test of time.
Yeah.
What I was actually going to go with this is, going back to your point about Spotify and how we consume our media now, with teaching, like, if you want to learn something new, so say, whether you're posting it as a teacher on YouTube, which I know you've got plans for as well.
Yes.
Or if you are just looking at, well, how does somebody teach this topic? How did they explain it best?
Yeah.
What do you do and what do you look at? So you're not going to go out and buy a DVD of it.
No.
You're just going to go online. You're going to go onto YouTube and you're going to see, well,
what's available.
Yeah.
What's available.
a lot of the times now, I know kind of in the online drum community, there's stuff like mikeslessons.com, which is an online streaming service, and they have live online drum lessons or live online guitar lessons. So wherever it is in the world, they say in this time zone, these days of a week, you pay £20 a month, and you can subscribe to this. And like I know the Mike's Lessons, Mike Johnston is a great drummer, great educator, a really big influence of mine. He sits in California, he's got his own studio, he records it, his wife is there doing the sound for him. It's a really legitimate operation. And he's got something like, I think it's about 100,000 subscribers to Mike's Lesson. I mean, going into dollars now, but he's got 100,000 subscribers, paying $20 a month.
Yeah. It's basically times that by 20.
Yeah, so do you think, so do you think, with that in mind, the actual instrumental teachers, if you're a one-on-one guitar tutor, do you think that you're going to be obsolete in a few years?
I don't think so. And here's why. When you're having a lesson with someone over the internet or watching a YouTube video, nobody's going to tell you if that's right or wrong. You know what I mean? You're not streaming your content back to that teacher that's streaming to you.
But you can.
Can you?
Well, they're doing
when
a
did
thing.
This happen?
So they're doing.
Oh God!
Like Mike Johnson, he'd be like, okay, so here's a video. So this week, this month, and he does like monthly assignments, monthly homework. So we're like, okay, this week we're doing whatever topic it is. It doesn't matter. This is the topic for the week. Everyone's got to take the topic, and then send it back to me, and I look at all of them, and I will give you individual feedback. And he genuinely does it.
That is impressive.
He's a machine.
How does he do that? I want tips. I want lessons off of him now.
It's like he's one of the best educators. He actually did a TED talk, and it was the art of explanation, which is that was like my cornerstone when I did my PGCE.
Yeah. And
it is this, so you've got a 5-year-old student, a 15-year-old student, and a 50-year-old student, and I've been in this situation, and it's really weird. I remember doing these drum lessons back to back, and I had it was 6, and I think it was around 16, 17, and a 60-year-old, and I just get him a cats, really basic drumming. And I'm like, well, how do I explain this to a kid to make it, going back to what you said, entertaining, then going back to a teenager who kind of wants to be seeing it as a cool thing, and then someone who is with this particular student who was 60 and felt like they were past their prime and unable to do this, and lack of confidence, but you've got to translate that same lesson into 3 different languages.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There may be people out there that are definitely able to stream a lesson out there, and then they're also able to review their students' progress over video, or however they're doing it. But to me, I still think that as a tutor that works either one-to-one or in groups with students, I still think that there are things that I can do, such as offering my humour to the lesson, or other practical elements that I can add to the lessons in order to give them more value for their money.
I think building on that as well, there's a certain sort of especially maybe with some younger students, there's a pastoral care element that does go with it, because there's a certain trust. Like let's just assume you've got a 10-year-old kid, and there's a class of 30 people, and he's the one kid in that class who can play guitar. So not to obviously, but you just it's fictitious person.
I know what you mean.
But he's got skills that nobody else has got. He can do stuff that nobody else can do in his class, and you're the person who's given him those skills. So he holds you in this this position of trust and power, and he looks up to you. So he might actually say, well, these are some problems I'm having in my life, and he's going to go to you.
Absolutely. So there it is. I'm offering that student more value, and there's actually I was in a situation with one of my group sessions a little while ago where one student was learning things particularly quickly compared to the other students. It was a class of 5 students, I believe, and I know you've probably experienced this, that you can't move on until everyone's got it.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So what I then did, these students were quite young. So due to my research into what the kids are into, Fortnite, I knew that I could make a game for them in a minute of our lesson based off of whatever video games they were playing. So I came up with a game called Infection.
Okay.
And the way it works is that if you have the knowledge, you know, whether it's a new chord or a new scale or
whatever it is,
it doesn't matter what it is, that person is infected. And the infected person's job is to infect everyone else. So in the end, you've got students teaching each other.
Nice. So you're encouraging peer learning.
Absolutely.
They're building bonds between each other.
Absolutely. And they're also having fun doing it. And on top of that, I know you've seen this research as well. People, there's sort of different tiers of retention when you're learning something. So the first tier of when you're retaining a certain amount of information is just reading it. And then you're only going to retain about, I'm guessing the numbers here, I'm afraid I don't have them right in front of me, but let's say 5% you're going to remember out of that.
Right.
And then, you know, the next stage from there, you're going to do it practically.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to remember 40% of that. Again, I'm pulling these numbers out of thin air, so if your listeners that don't mind that, then
no, but I get your meaning. It's like a
Yeah.
very small amount, a medium amount, and then
Absolutely. And the highest retention rate is when you're teaching someone else that material.
Well, and I'm going to absolutely butcher this, but the Albert Einstein quote, which is, "You don't fully understand something until you can teach it to someone."
Yeah.
Oh no, it came out okay. Actually, I was like, I'm going to trip over this.
I'm proud of you.
I was gonna, well, in my mind, I didn't know the words that I was going to say, but I knew the quote. If that makes sense, and I was like, oh, here we go.
You know the flow, but not the.
I was just like, when you teach a person and that person learns and you understand more.
Yeah.
I thought that was how it was going to come
now
out.
you're teaching it to me. So
Yeah, no, I
you're
told
going to remember, 70% or whatever it is.
But I think it's true, and it was funny when I really started teaching drums, which was 2015, I think it was.
Yeah.
I was suddenly like, wow, this is really... It made me more self-aware, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you do something and they say, well, why'd you do it that way? And you think, well, it's the way I got taught. Well, actually, why do I do it that way? Is that the way I want to teach you? Or is there something that's going to benefit you more?
Yeah. Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean.
and it's amazing how much you can influence your students musically as well.
Yes.
I was really fortunate growing up that my drum teacher, Rob Mason, who's actually going to be a guest on the show really soon. So he's like a very old school drummer. Mm-hmm. He grew up like playing in bands in the 60s and got to tour all over. He's actually just done like some gigs with Robert Plant as well. So he's like a legitimate drummer. Mm-hmm. But I just came to him at I was 11 years old and I was like, I want to play Black Sabbath. I want to be this hard rock hitting drummer. And he was like, yeah, that's cool. Like we can do that, but have you heard of Motown? Do you know what Stax is? And I was like, no, I've never been exposed to this. Mm-hmm. And so he showed me this encyclopedia of music that I just never knew existed, and it was amazing. Yeah. And you can still be that Black Sabbath player.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But in the back of your mind, and hopefully coming out and you're playing, you've got these other influences, and they help in different situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have that power as a teacher to impart that knowledge, and even just. I mean, I'm not saying you've got to sit there and teach them like Smokey Robinson,
Mustang and Sally,
whatever it is, but just making them aware of it, and then they can choose to explore it if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I remember he showed me a lot of different artists, but I really, really clung to Otis Redding, and I think it was about 14 maybe. Yeah. And just it was so we've been playing together a couple of years and. I say enough that you kind of get the basics and you can listen to a song and you can pick it up and you can physically play a lot of it, and it was like, okay, so you can do that. Well, here's this stuff now, and hearing Otis Redding do his version of Respect and sitting on the dock of the bay, and I was like, this is just so cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. But as this, all my friends were into rock music and metal music, and that was what we all listened to. That was all what we wanted to be. Yeah. And then I'm suddenly going to be like, oh, I like Otis Redding. And we're like, who? It's like, exactly. And it's so crazy now, because I know guys who have the opposite upbringing, where they were brought up on Otis Redding, but they don't know anything about rock players or rock music. So I think that definitely your early teachers can shape you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the rest of your career.
Absolutely.
But I think as well, remaining a practitioner, as we obviously both do in gigging in different bands and in different projects, you're still being current in the industry.
Yep. Which is also important. Which is also very important. And this is part of the I guess it kind of links in with the whole value thing we were just talking about with having a proper teacher, person, is that we can also share our experiences.
Yeah.
And I also do believe that as a teacher, that is very important for us to do, is to share the reality of being a musician. Not that we should put off our students, it's not like that at all, but it's... I feel like if we don't give them that dose of reality, they maybe don't quite understand how hard they have to work to achieve what goals they have.
And this is why I, trying to pull back the veil a little bit, can you kind of give an example of where maybe you grew up with a certain preconceived notion, but what the actual reality is, being a musician? So one thing that really sort of threw me off was... Well, it wasn't really throwing me off. I don't really know what words to use here, really. But it was actually how much networking you have to do and how much paperwork there actually is involved. And by paperwork, I mean things like emails and admin work. Being self-employed. Yeah, it's a lot. Doing your tax returns and claiming for stuff. It is a lot of work. You spend the majority of your time as a musician doing that. And typically the vision of musician is sold as something that you're always on the road and you're mavericks and no one can touch us. No one can touch us, and and the fact of the matter is, I'm on the train on the way to a gig, and I'm answering an email to a student saying like, oh yeah, you're booked in for next week, or that's a reality, isn't it? That is the reality, and that is important. But that doesn't mean that we have all the lows. We're not boring people. No, but I think that's how you make your own work, isn't it? Because if you don't send those emails, if you don't, like, most students aren't going to come and schedule you in. No. You have to. You got to reach out to them. Yeah. Same with the gigs and that. Like, you got to go find your gigs. Yeah. I'm hoping to do an interview actually soon with, we were talking about him earlier, with Tim Smart, who's he plays trombone in the Book of Mormon, and it's really funny because these guys there, and I got to go and watch the show and go in the pit and talk to them, and they've spent years and hours and hours of practice getting to this point, but then you end up playing the exact same show every single night, and it's so glamorous. Oh my God, you're a West End performer, a West End musician. Yeah, it is amazing. It pays well. You got great gigs. But and this isn't something Tim has said, but I've spoken to other people around that, and they've said it's a little soul destroying. Yeah, because you're playing the same cheesy numbers, and this isn't just like Book of Mormon. I mean, it's great music. The guys who wrote that are amazing, but it's the same laughs every night, and like myself, who's done cruise ship work, it's the same. It's a lot of the same stuff, I think. Yeah, absolutely. Mind you, saying that in a touring band, your set list is going to be pretty much the same night to night. Set list is going to be the same. But I think definitely, as you touch on the reality is very different. But I think it has to be. Like, I grew up listening to Motley Crue and watching those videos about, and it became very apparent to me in my my teenage years, I'm not going to be on heroin. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Oh no. Touch wood. Touch wood, yeah. like growing up, I idolised Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee, and when I read The Dirt, their autobiography, I was like, oh my God, these guys were insane. How are they still alive? Yeah, yeah. But I found this, and I'm not sure if you'd agree or not, that there's still some musicians out there who think we have to do that, and it solidifies you as this kind of eternal rock star god if you go out and get smashed. And I mean, we were talking about this before, like this expectation to go out and get drunk. Yeah. And if you want to do that, fine and cool, whatever, it's your life. But just doing it for the sake of it because you think that's what's expected of you. Absolutely. I think that's sort of rubbish. Absolutely. Well, it is. It is a lot of rubbish. It is a lot of rubbish because all that's going to happen here is, and I've spoken to people that this happened to,
They'll go out on a networking night, and they'll have one too many drinks, and they won't actually get any networking done. They won't meet anyone.
Yeah.
They won't do anything. They just sit there, and or maybe they'll leave, or they'll stumble home, whatever. And all that happens, the only thing they've achieved is the next day they've woken up and they're miserable.
Yeah. And
because they've got a headache.
And a few quid lighter as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Starting to wrap up a little bit now, but I want to get your take on networking a bit. So, for people who are listening out here who are maybe musicians trying to break into bands, musical projects, whatever it is, what would be your top tip if you went to a networking event, or even just at a gig where there's lots of musicians around?
Okay.
What would you do in that scenario to get yourself known, to get the gig you want?
So, first thing, obviously, smile.
Okay.
For God's sake, you're doing the best job in the world. Smile. Enjoy it, and have an idea of what your end goal is. Have your end goal in mind, because it's so easy. I mean, look at us here, even this podcast. We've gone through so many tangents, and this isn't me, speaking badly. But if you was to go to a networking night, and you didn't have a plan in mind, you didn't know what you were actually networking for. You
just do anything.
You just do anything. Yeah. You go. What actually happens is you end up talking yourself out of the job.
Because you talk about different stuff rather than you actually like,
exactly.
Hey, I really liked your music. I'm a guitar player. If you need someone, like, here's my business card. Yeah. Like, that's your end goal to get that gig.
That's it. That's all you need to say. Because if you turn up, if you could go up to someone and say like, oh, hey, I'm a guitar player. I love your music. I want to work for you. La 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 la. Oh yeah, I also do some teaching on the side.
Right.
Guess what? You just talk yourself out the job because he doesn't care. What you've just told him is that you don't have time to commit to that.
Yeah.
That's what you've just told him. Why? Go in there with a plan and stick to your guns on that plan. Don't deviate from that plan. There'll be other opportunities. Don't deviate from that plan. Stick to it. And then, hopefully, it doesn't always work out that way, but hopefully you can come out with there exactly what you're looking for. Is that a good tip?
I think so. I think that's definitely what I was after, just to get it, to give people because that term networking is it's thrown around so much now.
Yeah.
And we don't always know what it is or what it means. I think because a lot of the times, like you said, people are like, oh, it means we go have beers and I talk to people.
Yeah.
It's like
partly yes, but you have to go in there.
You smile. You can be generous, buy someone a beer, and then I think it's kind of etiquette. Like if someone buys you a drink, you are then standing and talking about this, and you don't just go somewhere else.
Yeah, you don't just kind of go, oh yeah, cheers, mate, wander off.
Well, that's such a good, and like obviously I'm not endorsing people to go and get smashed for the sake of it, but that was a tip that really got given to me, which was like, you can actually network a lot in a pub. You don't have to drink. You can just stand there with a Coke or a water or whatever. Just offer to buy someone a drink. Smile, like you said. You've got that generosity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a good way to do it.
Just don't be miserable and enjoy the process. Basically.
Definitely.
That's how it works.
Okay, so final question for you. Actually, no, two questions. One I wanted to talk about earlier. When you talked about being entertaining, how do you stop yourself becoming the clown that they laugh at and don't take notice of, as opposed to the quirky teacher who they do take notice of?
So the biggest sort of the way I make that differentiation is typically the humour that I tend to use in my lessons is just sort of stemmed off of what I'm actually teaching. I'm not just standing there cracking jokes.
Right. Okay.
You know
so there's a purpose to it.
It's a purpose to it. Yeah. So whether it's based on an analogy, or maybe it's a small anecdote or something like that. Just something. Essentially, the purpose of it is that you're then going to walk away, and the idea is you're going to be able to tell that joke to someone else, and then it will kind of click into place.
Yeah.
Because it will be like, for example, one specific on the guitar, which uses all four fingers.
Okay.
And they're sort of separated by a lot of strings. It's a G major chord. If anyone wants to Google it, it's a G major chord. But what I will tend to do is I say, okay, then live long and prosper.
Oh, you do the Star Trek song.
I do the Star Trek thing. Live long and prosper. So And then I hammer that in. So every time I go like, okay, so now we're going to do, I don't know, a test, let's say. Play me a G chord. And they go, to begin with, because they're just getting it together in their heads, they go like, and I go, live long and prosper. And they go,
So
okay.
as soon as you put your hand up, you make that symbol, that association.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, you mean this? And
yeah,
then they can
absolutely. So it's. I'm not just sitting there cracking jokes. I'm not sitting there being a clown. I'm actually using humour. Most of it's really silly humour anyway, because I'm teaching kids. I can't go in there with the hardcore stuff. You know what I mean? I can't make Tenacious G jokes.
Yeah,
you know?
it's just like crack out a dead baby joke.
Yeah, I can't crack in with that. But you know, it's maybe some of the older students can.
Could be the next podcast, how to get fired from a teaching job.
Yeah, part 2. Oof. But you know, and in the end, they can then take that away. And I've even noticed some of them even writing the joke instead of writing the chord, they'll write the joke.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. And they're like, that's what that is.
And they get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time I will then ask for that chord, they'll repeat the joke to me.
Yeah.
Because I remember it. It's like an in-joke. I've built that relationship with my student then. And then they trust me more. So if I'm teaching them some more abstract content, maybe, you know, this is how you connect two scales together, let's say, which is a pretty vast subject. Like, you know, how many ways is there to... How long is a length of string? Well, that's how many ways you can put scales into something. You know, it's a little bit... So for things like that, they trust me more.
Right.
You know,
so it's building that relationship.
It's building that relationship up, and that's the idea behind it.
Okay.
That's the idea behind it.
Cool. I like that.
Cool.
So final question: top 3 bands, artists, or guitar players that have influenced you the most?
Oh boy,
I wanted to check
that. You already know who my number one's going to be, right?
I think I know.
Okay, so my number 1 is going to be Richie Kotzen.
Okay, yeah.
I love Richie.
Okay.
I love Richie. Richie's the man.
Richie Kotzen, so he's your number 1 guitar
He's
player.
my number 1 of all time.
Okay, so that's number 1.
Yeah. So number 2, bit of an obscure one. It sort of shows my nerdy traits.
Okay.
It's a Japanese guitarist called Jun Sunu.
Okay, I've never heard of Jun Sunu.
Yeah. So Jun Sunu used to be the musical composer for Sega.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty
cool.
So,
if anyone's played any Sonic the Hedgehog games from the early 90s, like Sonic Adventure, he did the soundtrack for that. And he also worked with my favourite vocalist called, his name is Johnny Gioeli, who sings for Hardline, Axel Rudy Pearl, and obviously, I don't know if they still work for Sega, but he did do the singing for all that stuff as well.
Cool.
So yeah, Jun Sunu. For him, it's because his style was very unorthodox. Okay. And I guarantee you that if I sent you some of his stuff, you'd be like, oh yeah, I can hear you playing in that, because I just listened to it a lot. And
that's how it's come out of you.
Yeah, a lot of my weirder traits as a guitarist. Like for example, there's a certain bending technique that I use that someone once described it as, it sounds like a child having a tantrum. But in a good way, of course. A musical tantrum. Sounds like my stage show.
No, but you do have weird guitar traits as a guitar. Like I really want this nickname to catch on. I might put it in the title and description of this. But I always call you the UK's answer to Marty McFly. But it's so true.
Oh no, Jack Black and Marty McFly.
I was actually talking to Ben at Facilities.
Yeah.
And he was saying to me, he was like, oh, I know what you mean, because he said he saw you, and I was like, oh, like Marty McFly. And I want to get you we want to get you
the red jacket.
Yeah.
The puffer jacket.
What does he call it? The life preserver.
The life preserver.
That's what he wants to get.
Yeah.
Okay. So and your third.
Yeah.
Top favourite.
My third. Now this is where it starts to get tough, because this is the one that is constantly changing.
Okay.
Because I have to reserve a spot for whoever I'm really into at the time. So at the moment, I'm loving John Mayer.
Okay, that's fair.
Callous listen to John Mayer, but as I say, my third spot is changing every week.
That's fair.
So, but yeah, at the moment, John Mayer's the guy.
No, I like it. Some really diverse choices there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for being part of the show. Was there anything you wanted to plug? Sort of like any websites, Facebook, anything like that?
So, couple of things, but I need to pick. Just like networking, you have to be able to pick your message.
Okay.
I can't walk out of here and and
We can do like a few takes.
a few takes, maybe.
Editing.
Okay, sure.
No,
So
I'm not going to.
yeah, take the best one. So.
Over to you.
So, you know, I am obviously a teacher based in London, a guitar teacher. So, if anyone's looking for a guitarist or a guitar teacher, you gotta come speak to me on Instagram. My follower handle. My handle.
It's always your
just
handle.
handle.
She keep carrying around with you. It's
Yeah. I just carry anyone that likes me. I just, I carry them. I need the support. Sure, we're gonna run with that.
Cool.
At Ryan Wilson Guitar.
At Ryan Wilson Guitar.
At Ryan Wilson
okay.
Guitar. Just drop me a DM.
Cool.
I don't bite. And
Best way to contact you then.
Yeah. And if you can also send me a musical meme as a way of saying hello, or even a meme of Obi-Wan saying hello there, we're going to be instantly friends. So
that's great. And we nearly made it the entire hour without doing a Star Wars reference.
it was going to happen. I was very heavily debating.
How far are we? We did an
just hit an
hour.
hour.
We hit an hour and was
Yeah.
like, oh, dude, we did an hour without talking about Star Wars. This was too much.
I was genuinely gonna start the podcast with that. Hello there.
I was so close. But even and I love what we can do is like when we Saturday night when we went to the porterhouse and I was asking, I was like, is that a vegan burger? She was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, I find your lack of faith disturbing. I'm so proud of that joke, and the fact that you were there with me just made it.
It's the best.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming
My pleasure.
and chatting, talking about teaching, music, guitar, and all the rest of it. And yeah, I'm sure we'll have you on the podcast again about getting fired as a teacher. Thanks, man.
How much behind the sun? Come on through life if you think about proving I won't do it. You gotta look out, you gotta watch out for it. The more I think about and start to feel the sense from the cover to take over and the fools and prosper. We love it. Not every bee can become a queen. Not every pound can climb above the waves. Welcome to modern life. Still same slave to the grind. Take a look at the mirror and see what it's like. Let the children play. Give them toes to bend and love it. We're missing the world all over. Let the children say. Let them give them faith. They want it. Easy control. We love it. Oh, look out, the crowd got out. We got them down. With boomers and consumers, you ain't got nothing to lower, lower. Like father to his son, you gotta sacrifice for the ruler to the fullest, so they can pull them down spot. We love it. Not every seed can become a tree, but every pound can get you on the feet. Welcome to modern life. Still safe to the grind. Take a look at the mirror and see what it's like. Let the children play. Give them toes to play. They love it. We're missing the world all over. Let the children stay. Let them give them faith. They want it. Easy controlling. We love it. The children pay. The children pay. Oh no no. Let the children obey. No no no. control the